the internet? I believe so. Yes, it appears that we are online. I don't know where chapstick went. Nothing new to report. Uneventful Christmas, Christmas Eve. Hanging out by myself, not playing Nintendo. Just passing the time, really. We're in yet another hurry up and wait scenario, it seems, right? My life is littered with hurry up and wait scenarios, unfortunately. Oh, I didn't even queue for Battleground yet. Challenges. Yeah, I haven't been doing a whole lot just because, well, as far as like streaming and stuff, I feel like it's best reserved for if I have something to say, and then like even if I don't, just every now and again. That way, it's not every day where I just sit here with my mouth open. It's the holidays. Any of my say like people I might find myself conversating with or bouncing ideas off of or whatever. Uh, you know what I mean? Not necessarily an interaction with them currently, just because everybody's busy for the last. It's like usually 2 weeks before Christmas, and then like 2 weeks after New Year's, before everything kind of the dust settles and all the turkey wears off and all the euphoria from Christmas presents and everything else. Everybody gets tired of their easy bake ovens and their George Foreman grills, and everything goes back to normal. So, that being said, how art thou? Yeah. An odd hour. Figure if I'm gonna take a couple weeks off or whatever, might as well flip my sleep schedule for the night owls. Because when I was younger, this is what I used to do. Sit and play computer all night. Reminiscent, right? What's the word? Nostalgia, nostalgic. I've got to get back to being an adult here soon, I guess. So for now, this is a sheerly for entertainment and wasting time sort of thing. Help pass the time. It's better than mindlessly scrolling through TikTok. If you've ever felt stressed out, or you're like, oh, like something that I feel like was designed to stress you out is whatever the TikTok algorithm. You scroll through it like the doom scrolling portion, everybody does it, and it just stresses you out, man, doesn't it? Like I'll be in a great mood, and then all of a sudden I'll open TikTok, I'll get like 3 videos in, and I'm like, what the fuck? The noise, the algorithm, it's just some of it's kind of harsh on your ear. Yeah, I'm like, I'll be in a great mood, flip through TikTok, and then within 15 to 20 seconds, I'll be like, fucking shit, really? The thing is that there's nothing else to do, you know what I mean? Hey, we're on the opposite side. This is a horde versus horde battleground, it looks like. We are normally on the other side, it seems. But I don't have any plans for New Year's. Stay at home and do nothing. I guess that's kind of the plan for the next couple days, actually. Hey, now. We're on the Alliance side. Okay. Let's go. I'll stay here then. I always end up guarding because it's like, is it the best use of my skills? Probably not, but it's so essential to winning the game that you just like whatever, fuck it then. Like what's his name? Ralphie Wiggum, I guess. Like just you're like Ralphie Wiggum. I could be doing so much more, right? I really could. I don't know what the Ralphie Wiggum reference is, but you get what I'm saying though. You're like, you're doing what Ralphie Wiggum would be doing, but right? It's like whatever. It's a fucking placeholder. Right. This is Elias work. Right. But it's so essential and so necessary that somebody stay at the fucking node and just sit there and post up and make sure you call out incomings, right? Hey, if we even ended up with the flag, what the fuck are these people do? No, we didn't. I thought we did. That's something else. My eyes aren't the greatest, but it looked like that guy had the flag. Yes. Oh, I saw that thing there, I guess. Instant ice block. Tardcopter. Shit. Come on now. Come on, guy. What's the matter now, guy? Oh, great. Thanks, friend. You fucking serious? You don't see this guy fucking wailing on me? I got my window open. That thing, but I don't have it's connected to my laptop, so I can't necessarily show you what it looks like outside. Not that it's just to keep an eye on the, yeah. If we just hold these three, you can let them run the flag. person to call out inks. It's like whatever. This should like some of these things, right? Should count as community service. Some of the people you end up playing with, and some of this shit here. Babysitting. I should get paid. Like, yeah, exactly. How do we work that out? Let's get a Somali babysitting scheme going here. There's how many people are in an Eye of the Storm? 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, minus myself. I should get paid for babysitting all 14 of these retards per hour, right? This now is turned into a fucking Somali babysitting scheme. Actually, some of them are probably all right, but you know, whatever. I think it's more noble cause than anything else, probably more than likely. Hello? Okay, good. I am connected. Burp. 40. Ears are ringing. Oh shit. Holy fucking shit, Morty. It's a rogue. Ink DR1. Oh, come on now. Wait, that's not line of sight. Well, I guess he thinks it is. Gouge. Come on now. Yeah, it's like, well, good for you. That guy not die from that? Did about as good as I could, I guess, right? I've just been a little stressed out here lately, obvious reasons. Nothing too terrible, just, you know, fucking sifting through it, I guess, right? Oh, the guy did die. Okay, good. Sweet. Well, I did my job then, right? It's like I get to I get the feeling that this is this rate cut thing, and I know it's like there's so much more to it than my fucking grasp of a thing I don't really research. But the idea that the rate cut thing, it's like how are they gonna keep dragging their feet every time there's a rate cut until like they know for sure, you know? So it seems like that's the case, but I think that the idea is that as long as they think they can get a rate cut, they're just going to keep, you know, like dragging their feet until they get one. But like I said before, at what point in time does that not become greedy, you know? I know it's not just the rate cut. There's like a whole bunch of other shit that goes along with it but it seems like the first and foremost thing that's always talked about on the news is the actual rate cut itself or whatever. What other indicators are required for the bull market? Probably more than just that, but that seems to be the first and foremost. it seems like this last year that was the first start of the bull cycle that we got to see like the precursors for it, like around this time last year, I guess, or you know. Hey, Eye of the Storm veteran. What does that mean? When Eye of the Storm. Thanks. What does that mean? I've done this before. Oh, complete 100. And then that... Oh, victory and veteran, two different things. Okay. 1/100, Eye of the Storms. Yeah, but as much as like whatever people... Are there people that just make their living off of being either full-time bullish and full-time bear on the market or whatever? You know what I mean? Like always selling and shorting crypto and all that stuff and hoping it crashes, and people that are always eternally optimistic and only make money off of buying Bitcoin or whatever. So I mean, like, are there people that do well at doing both essentially? So I'm trying to, because at some point in time, it's like, I guess if you're a person that's bearish on everything, then your concept is like, well, I guess right now is like your bread and butter. You couldn't be happier, could you? Must be nice, right? But the thing, so yeah, what I was saying is those people that are on the fence and play both sides of the fence or whatever, it's like at some point in time, as exhausted as the Bulls get with the Bears, I guess, saying like, come on now, you know what I mean, drag your feet, kick and scream until you get a fucking million rate cuts or whatever. I guess it's beneficial to both sides, but you get what I'm saying. You're like, um, as exhausted as I guess as exhausted as I could be with the idea that the market has been in a slump. You know, I say that, not necessarily, but this last year didn't play out exactly like everybody thought it was, or thought it was going to, or whatever. You know, as exhausted as I am of that, I can imagine that's how they feel, or how they're going to feel in the next year, probably. The seesaw of it all, right? That's why I stay away from all the perps and all that stuff. It's like, isn't it aren't all those the things that brought us the like 2008 economic collapse to begin with? Like financial instruments and things that are like, you know what I mean? It seems like that's what complicated and made all this shit, mortgage swaps and all that crap or whatever. Um, so that's why people like, they always talk about Aster and Hyperliquid and all that stuff. I just, whatever. I'm like a technology guy, not necessarily perpetuals and all that shit. I guess there's a time and a place, but I know the one thing is, like, if you research the technology and know what technologies are potentially valuable, then it's like a way of mitigating the risk that you could potentially assume doing anything else. So it worked well for Bitcoin. It worked well for Ethereum. It worked well for Solana. You know, it'll work well for everything else. Like the Aster thing didn't seem like that quite played out like everybody thought it was going to. It was like the only thing that the internet talked about just like a month and a half or 2 months ago. The thing that looks like a butthole for a coin, right? But a balloon knot token. Yeah, this Jeffrey Epstein stuff's gotten so ridiculous. Like, oh, like, the only thing that's more ridiculous is a proof of life video of Jeffrey Epstein eating fucking AI spaghetti. You're like, this is the second most absurd thing next to that. Like, no, here he is, he fucking eating spaghetti with Will Smith. Yeah, he must be alive. Like, clearly there's a fucking cover up here. What did they do? Right? They scoot him out the back door and bring him somewhere else. Yeah, we have proof. Fucking he's in there eating fucking spaghetti with what's his name, Will Smith, right? Here's what, yeah, his video right before he kills himself. Here's his final meal. He asked for fucking spaghetti, and Will Smith was paying him a visit. You're like, this is clearly a fucking cover up. There's a cover up here. Good God, dude. I don't know who's involved. Obviously everybody, but shit, really? It's gotten to be absurd levels of fucking ridiculous, right? Yeah, here's Epstein scene eating his final meal, fucking eating spaghetti with Will Smith, right? Clearly, this footage is not at all edited. I only know because I actually used to live with somebody that also killed themselves in prison, which is kind of weird, isn't it? I don't know what to think about it. But, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough one, isn't it? He probably did it, in all honesty. He probably killed himself, more than likely. Don't know why, but it was strange when all that shit was going on, like, I tried to stay away from it as much as possible. Everybody else kept telling me news about it. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is worry about all this other shit with somebody else, right? It's one of those things. It's like you can only bribe authorities so much, and it's like once like the government and stuff gets involved, I don't think it's very likely that like the Spanish government would be co-conspirator or anything like that. Really, I just don't. Plus, you get to be that old, and God knows the guy had his problem with booze and all that stuff, and I can only imagine what that would be like, having drinking like gallons and gallons of booze every day of your life for the fucking 100 years or whatever, and then having a cold turkey detox off of alcohol like that, being in a prison, being old as shit, you know, like probably get to you pretty quick. Not to mention, for better or worse, whatever underlying mental illness and everything that he had going on. Uh, yeah, I mean, I could imagine, honestly, you know, it might get to you. I know everybody else speculates and everything else, but you know, the impression that I got though is that, I mean, he went around town here telling people that, like, for all intents and purposes, that he was going to try and fake his death. And I think, but based on what he told me, and I don't know how many people actually know this kind of shit about him, but uh, he told me that, like, at some point in time, right, and he told me, like, there's, like, no matter what type of situation he always finds himself getting into, there's always, like, somebody that he doesn't know that'll just leave the door open for him. And I honestly think he tested that theory to the point where he thought that if he ever got apprehended by the authorities in Spain, that he would have somebody just leave the door open for him, and I guess they didn't. You know what I mean? He told me about the time he got to Guatemala or whatever, when he was, after he was in Belize. You know, he said he got to Guatemala, and like one of the jail guards in Guatemala just fucking left the door open and let him walk out of the place at some point in time. And he said that's not like the only time that that's happened to him. He didn't necessarily specify who or what or why, or like if they were associated with some other group, or if it was just a person that, whatever. But so I honestly think that it came the time that he probably really believed that and put it to the test and found out the hard way that that was, you know, finally caught up with him. Once he realized that he fucking, however long he was in prison in Spain or whatever, like 8 months has passed and nobody's opened the door yet, right? So he might have really killed himself, for what it's worth. That's like my speculation, because he had that mentality of no matter what he gets himself into, he'll have someone open the door for him when it's the right time. But then again, he might know more than I do about the fucking whatever. You know, he might have actually found that person. You know, I don't know. You know, that is a sticky situation, right? But I can't imagine at some point in time, you know, especially like the Spanish authorities co-conspiring to do whatever with them. No matter how much you want to bribe somebody, you don't just walk out of a prison with a fucking million cameras everywhere. You know, there's like 100 doors that have to open and 100 doors that have to close, and one only opens if the other one's closed, and it's all on camera. You're like, yeah, you're not walking out of a place like that. It's not Guatemala or whatever country it was. I can't remember the specifics, but he mentioned it to me a couple times. But he did go around town telling people, like, oh yeah, yeah, and no matter what, don't ever fall for the fucking blah 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 and the this and that. And then the Jeffrey Epstein stuff happened like shortly thereafter, you know, and he was still alive. Not Jeffrey Epstein, but John was. And long after we parted ways, but it seemed like it was all he talked about for a while, according to like other people that come to me, and they'd say like, oh, what do you think, John, about this Epstein thing? I'm like, I have no clue. I've completely like exited life at that point in time. Like, I'm not participating in any of this shit. Basically just begging to be left alone by everybody at that point in time. It's like the last thing I wanted to talk about. but that was like kind of the impression. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I have no clue. I think it probably finally got to him. He realized that no one was going to come and open the door for him, and he never actually had to sit down for any period of time and, like, whatever the thing is, face the music or whatever. That's interesting. I'm sure it is. You people fucking, I'm sure it's interesting. I'm sure, right? I don't know how interesting it is to me. Going through it, though, it's totally different versus, like, wanting to hear the story and actually living through it. You're like, yeah, it's not a story I want to fucking tell, really, but I've kind of ran out of shit to talk about, and I know you people probably want to hear it, so I'm not necessarily one of the type of people that wants to, like, live my life through somebody else's whatever, but, you know, it's an interesting story nonetheless. I know some of the former people that used to live and work with John and all that stuff, kind of all they do is dwell and all they do is talk about that portion of their life. I'm like, before it was even over, I didn't want to fucking, I wanted to move on to do something else, you know, I didn't even want to think about it. So when everybody got to going, oh, what about this? What about that? I'm like, okay, well, you're no longer invited to my home, basically. I can't put up with this shit for now. So what about you guys? Anybody have any New Year's plans? Hopefully out with the old, in with the new, dude. I hope this year turns out better than, say, last year, but you know what I mean, current year. Hope next year's better than this year for sure. Really? Oh. Yeah, I've got more shit to discuss about it eventually, but I've just, you know, I'd rather tell people in person, make sure they want to hear it before I say it. It's the type of thing. It's not necessarily like a very comfortable thing for me to relive. And honestly, I haven't talked about any of this shit for the last 7 years now. So I just assume, you know, whenever the time's right. You gotta have a pretty good reason, though. I'm not just the type of person who wants to rehash and relive all this ignorance for any reason whatsoever. But if someone finds it entertaining and I like them enough, right? Make myself a little uncomfortable for their entertainment. Jerry? How about you, Jerry? Farts, farts, man. Hope it all gets better soon though, because like I said, I say it's more or less what it feels like is a delay a game, or like, which usually means, and I know it's like, well, this is a theory, right? It's like, whether or not it's true, but it seems like the longer that they delay the actual inevitable bull market, the more profound it should be, right? It sounds good, yeah, and I think it's true. I'm pretty sure it's true. All that pent up rage, right? Pent up frustration. So thank you for joining me on my 2 in the morning fucking TED talk that I'm doing here. Oy vey. So I'm hoping, man. The thing is like, what I don't know and what I'm hoping to figure out is like, at the end of the day, what does it cost to actually develop some of these things that currently Leah has to use as like a, what constitutes, I'd say it's like, an AI wrapper, but in a lot of ways it is like a half and half kind of thing. Like, some of the stuff she's required to use various APIs and stuff, and then there's a lot of in-house developed things that she's able to do that don't require an API. Like I'm pretty sure her vision feature is an independent thing. So you think at the end of the day, that alone, like, there's got to be a way to make it all work, dude. There has to be. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean? If there was a way to just even turn the Leah Vision feature into uh, its own thing, right? Its own image or text or multimodal analysis tool, right? And then you purchase the tokens to do the API calls or whatever, similar to Claude and all that other stuff. Like that's certainly an option. I think that would be like, if you could incorporate just the Leah Vision feature as a way for other AIs to use that feature as through APIs and all that stuff. It's one possibility. The thing is that the guy is just so fucking swamped with everything. It's like you really have to pick a path and stick to it. And if it's not like immediately beneficial or whatever, but I'm thinking like, um, how much of a hybrid type structure does it need to have for it to be successful, you know? So I think like what all these other companies do and what and I don't necessarily know exactly what features use which APIs on Leah, but if just the Leah Vision feature were its own API that other people could purchase the API tokens for, that'd be potentially helpful. And you know what I mean? Like whenever you use what's the fucking thing called? Whatever, you know what I mean? It's like per use or per what they call prompt or request or whatever, it requires a certain amount of API tokens to fulfill the request or whatever. I mean, that's possible, but that would require, I think, some infrastructure or servers or something. All shit we don't have really, you know. But that's where like the bread and butter is currently, uh, from like a money making perspective, is the AI companies that have managed to uh, turn their companies into like a service, like pay per request or prompt or whatever. Like if you've ever used Claude, you get a certain amount of tokens every few hours to prompt the AI to fulfill your requests and all that stuff. So that's potentially one thing, but that would be, you would need to set up a company to do that, I'm pretty sure. that would be just the Leah Vision feature, and I don't know how many people would actually use it, but for multimodal analysis. But I don't think she can analyze sound just yet. Pictures, videos, and eventually sound would be nice, but it's not quite there yet. And I'm sure somewhere in the mix, eventually, hopefully it'll happen. But to make her fully multimodal would be pretty cool. Everything besides smell, right? She can analyze everything besides smell. Because it's more than just image analysis, right? It's like, I guess it is kind of, but like, as far as context is concerned, like, if you were to take a screenshot and submit it to an AI and ask for an analysis of what it is, I guess some of them do and some of them don't, but the, I think it's more than just like image recognition, you know what I mean? It's like there's actual context to the feedback that she gives as to what you're viewing and what you're doing, you know? It's more than just like, oh, there's identify the object, you know, there's actual subject matter and context to her analysis, which is what I believe is impressive. And uh, come on now. Sorry, water elemental. Oh, there you are. There you are. Hey, guy. No. Fuck. 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 Anyway, uh, I don't know how much processing power it requires either, though. Something I was seeing the other day that was interesting, though, is these data centers. You know, a lot of things I didn't think about before, with like location and what what are the requirements and stuff that are needed for like where they train the AI models versus like where they actually service the AI requests and all that. Like power consumption and bandwidth and location, obviously, some are more use more kilowatts per hour. Some of them require more bandwidth, like a server versus a where they actually do the training. You know, they where they actually train their models are not necessarily as bandwidth dependent as the service request servers or whatever. You know, like the actual streaming or whatever. Uh, so I was thinking like one of these companies though they did say, and I think it's a good idea, was the to purchase uh, Bitcoin facilities that I guess whatever for whatever reason the company didn't make it. Uh, they were going around and purchasing these like warehouses and stuff that these people had intended on mining Bitcoin with, and then ended up the company went under for whatever reason, and these whatever other company it was swooped in and purchased the facility, knowing that they had already laid all the infrastructure, like physical infrastructure required to do it. You know, and complete with like cooling towers or whatever, or depending on they were using air cooling or liquid cooling or whatever. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It's a good idea because a lot of these, and I wish I knew more honestly, but I get the impression that some of these uh, Bitcoin mining facilities and stuff were like more short-sighted, and I guess they didn't have like a long-term plan for their Bitcoin minings. As like from an investment standpoint, they were essentially using it as like a resource. So like from your mining operation today, how much of the copper that you mine do you have to sell to keep afloat and all that? But the thing about the AI companies is that they all have, for the most part, have already made they've already made their money, and now they're investing in AI. So the idea of them operating in the red for a few years isn't necessarily, you know what I mean? That's to be expected. Whereas like a Bitcoin company mining, it's like, well, they're expected from day one to have like to show a return on what they're doing. And unfortunately, that means selling the Bitcoin that you're mining when really you should be mining it to hold it and not sell it for a minimum of like 10 years or whatever until it appreciates, versus selling it as you need it to keep the lights on or whatever. I think that'd be more economically sound than, you know what I mean, trying to sell it as a resource. But for whatever reason, some of these companies had went under due to various reasons, I guess, mismanagement or whatever, and they they ended up out of business, and then these other AI companies swooped in and, like I said, purchased their facilities. So like, I guess they did them a service in some way, shape, or form. But what I find is interesting, though, is like I've said before, that thank God for Bitcoin starting when it did, because we wouldn't have been ready for the AI requirements, right? Like Bitcoin is not nearly as bandwidth dependent as actual like any of this stuff really. Any of the AI stuff is probably more bandwidth dependent than Bitcoin for the most part. And that being said, it's kind of the idea that at some point in time that you can convert basically computational power and electricity into an asset, prepared the market to build the infrastructure that would then be required to house all the AI stuff, right? Or at least got the people's minds lubricated to the idea that at some point in the future, computers and electricity are like currency, in one way or another, whether it be through Bitcoin or through servicing AI requests and prompts and everything else. Um, so thank God for Bitcoin is what I'm trying to say. So it's a good idea for more than just one reason, right? That means you have to have a company where people are usually like, oh, well, if you're an already pre-existing technology company, it's like, oh, well, one venture of your company operates in the red for a few years. Overall, you're still doing really well. But if you're a Bitcoin mining company specifically, it's like you're already operating in the red. How do we stop it from operating in the red? How do we turn a profit or whatever? And it's like a fool's errand essentially. The point is to not sell your Bitcoin ever if you can help it, instead of like having to sell it as you mine it to pay to keep the electricity running and all that stuff is like probably the reason some of these companies didn't work, if I had to guess. Elon's up late, as usual. Yeah, if this were a Somali daycare, dude, I'd be getting paid for this battleground. For sure. Close my fucking chat, dude. These people LARPing drives me nuts every time I see it. This is not what the founding fathers had in mind. I assure you. Are you? Okay, good. Keep going. Shit. Oh. Yeah, this whole new year, man. I hope, really, I hope it is really like lit on. What do they say in the song? If I can hope for a better new year, whatever. Let all acquaintance be forgot. Where is, oh. is the flag. There it is. Thanks, guy. Yeah, worth a shot, I guess. Really? Great. Be helpful to have some gear. Oh my god, we actually kept the flag? Oh my god. This person's not interested in trying to kill the flag carrier. Here lately, it's like everything is everybody. It used to be. It used to be everybody. It was the left's. This is the new age rendition of the everybody I don't like is a Nazi. If you remember, at some point in time, that was the narrative of both the left and the right. Now it's everybody I don't like is a Zionist. It seems like it's gotten to be that way here in just like the last few months for whatever reason. I'm like, yeah, that guy, look at that. You tried to get to the river and then he wouldn't kill the flag carrier. He must be a Zionist. Like, I've heard it a million times this last few months. It used to be, you're right. Now it's fucking everybody I don't like is a Zionist. You're like, come on now. There are such thing as stupid people. There are such thing as people that aren't good at World of Warcraft. Not everybody's a Nazi. Not everybody's a Zionist. You know, come on now. And it depends on who you talk to as to whether or not being a Zionist is a good or a bad thing. You know, when I was younger, it seemed like when people used the word, it was like a dirty word. And now it's like, you know, once you come to learn the definition of it, it's like Puerto Rican. The guy said on Jack Donaghy said on 30 Rock, he's like, it just sounds racist, doesn't it? Yeah, old like saying Puerto Rican, right? But I've never ascribed to either tribe of everybody I don't like as anything really. Puerto Rican. Guy's got a fucking entire bar full of fucking dots on him. Why won't you die? Okay, good. It seems like I get like one Shadow Word pain and it's like 70% of my health. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of 30 Rock here lately because it's one of those shows that there's like 100 seasons of it. I haven't seen it probably more than once or twice. Like, I can't necessarily watch all The Office again because there's, God damn it, dude. There's a point in time where we didn't have cable in my home, but I had a hard drive hooked up to my computer that had like all the episodes of The Office, and you could stream it to your Xbox. And it was all my brother watched for like a year or so. It was so frustrating. It was like every time like you'd walk in the living room, he'd be sitting there watching the same episode of the same TV show. Like, you ever get bored of watching that show? No. So I'm like, I can't fucking watch it anymore. Great. This is exactly what a Zionist would do. It's like a Zionist if you do, a Zionist if you don't, right? Either way, come on now. Some people also employ everybody is a CIA plant. They do also, right? That's another one. It must be a psyop, right? That was another one. This must be a psyop. I don't think they're that coordinated, really, because at the end of the day, people are lazy, and that requires a lot of effort, work, and forethought, and I can't imagine that everything is a psyop, really. Although I did see one YouTube video where the guy's like, here's clear-cut indicators of what a psyop is. I'm like, I think that's a psyop, right? Like you're handing out the criteria, or is it criteria or criterium rather, whichever, right, as to what constitutes a psyop. So you've effectively turned the entire news cycle into a, you know, a pick and choose what isn't a psyop, right? By handing out the instructions as to what constitutes a psyop. Like, so you've turned regular human behavior and regular news cycle stuff, which there's a lot of manipulation stuff in the media, obviously, but the idea that it's like if you pick enough categories for everything to fall into, then yeah, he's like, I forget what it ended up being, like, oh yeah, and when we ranked all the news stories based on the thing that I came up with, yeah, everything's a psyop then, isn't it? Right? Interestingly enough, I think that was the psyop. Because like I said, at the end of the day, you have to think, for every time, I say not every time, but someone has got to get a paycheck from the CIA eventually, is what I'm saying. Like, all these people don't work for free, you know what I mean? All these psyops, you're like, they don't get checks in the mail from the CIA for doing this shit, and people don't work for free, so what do you mean, right? You know, I'm sure there's more to it than just that, but I think that the real deal number is probably like way under, you know, what the perceived amount is before or after telling everybody what does and doesn't constitute a psyop, right? Come on now. Come on. Come in there. Come in there. Yabba dabba do. Come on. Separate him from the healer. And where's the flag carrier? Jerry? Fuck. He's gonna get out of that. And he's gonna... Wish I had a fucking another counter spell or something. Or another crowd control. Shit. Just keep him from free healing and attack the flag carrier. I don't see anybody's hands glowing. Is anybody even healing this fucking guy? Get him off the stand. Oh, he captured it. Fuck. Anyway, it's a valiant effort. It was a psyop by a Zionist / closeted Nazi. And probably something to do with Pizzagate, more than likely. As usual suspects. Shit. Well, worth a try. Yeah, conspiracy YouTube has been all I've watched for like the last week now. And the Y Files, that's such a good show, man. The Y Files is super good. Uh, I need to get a paraglider eventually. Oh shit. Ah, rogue, stealth rogue. No, run to the flag carrier. Whatever. Whatever. Be right back in just 1 minute. overclocked. Overclocked. Oh, cool. I might make a cup of coffee, actually, now I think about it. A minute for the long haul. Alright, guys, I'll be right back. Relax. I'll be right back. Just 1 minute. Oh my god. I'm gonna get a cup of coffee. Relax, my little Somali pirates. We're gonna be alright. Fuck. Spill coffee on my pants. Space Commander headset. That's really good. It's Dunkin' Donuts whey isolate protein. So instead of creamer, which is, depending on if it's real cream or not, is like fattening and all that, that's just pure protein. Make a nice iced coffee. Yeah, I hope, right? Like, whatever the narrative, I don't really know what is required. So, what I've looked up online is that Pump Fund does retain the ability to alter the smart contract, correct? Dot dot dot. They have the authority to alter it. The pre-existing smart contract for the V1 tokens, correct? I'm at a drawing a blank as to how it hasn't happened yet. Um, because I mean, in all honesty, Def missed out on like anywhere from 300,000 to $1 million worth of creator rewards, which would have helped him tremendously in this process. And that's shitty, you know. So what I don't know though is like what the fucking I know there's more to it than what I'm aware of, because it's like, well, why wouldn't they just edit? You know, I fucking look. I'm clueless. I understand, but you know, but the idea is that you know, if they can edit the existing smart contract, what was the necessity for the version 2 to begin with? You know, I mean, I understand I would understand upgrading or updating the pre-existing smart contracts if they have that ability, which from what I gathered they do, right? Then reissuing or creating, I guess, a new smart contract that governs the version 2 tokens that, you know, in all honesty, I wish I knew more about it, but it's kind of a hard thing to find answers to, really. It's a it's a difficult group to try and poke or prod for any sort of useful information from. They're kind of like, you know, uh, it's impossible almost to get a straight answer from anybody about anything. So I just assume, in the name of what good is it going to do, right? Just save yourself the time, pretty much. But I guess some people are saying that the creator rewards have taken away the incentive for tokens to do well, while while rewarding the creator for, I guess, I don't fucking know, dude. Some people, I guess, like the version 1 system more. Some people like the version 2 system more, right? But yeah, I don't know. I know Def's not pissed about it, but it is kind of shitty when you're like, how helpful that would be. I don't necessarily know if switching everything to version 2 is the answer, or if reverting back to version 1 is the answer. I've heard arguments from both tribes of individuals, right? But it could just be like one of those things where it's like, of course, it's whatever you want. You know what I mean? It's whatever that person, you know, whatever that person that day, what benefited them the most was probably the thing they wanted to happen the most. And that's kind of a difficult thing to navigate sometimes, right? But, but. Hey, yeah. What do we do? What do we do about it, though, is the question. Pump up the volume? Can't even get my Spotify to work. See how helpful that is. Yeah, I've been down the rabbit hole this last week, needless to say. Just a few days away from the new year again, man. It seems like this last few years have went by like super quick. Wish I knew more about it. Oh my god. What are we doing here, guy? Computer? Refresh? Anything? Yeah, I wish I had more riveting topics of discussion, but you have to understand, I'm doing all this shit solo, so like, the idea of like, oh, yeah, I do better in conversations than I do mumbling to myself on the internet. You know, like, someone to ping my thing off of to say, oh shit, punch myself in the face. Yeah, well, hey, yeah, you know, some feedback here would be great. That's what I'm trying to say. I need to get a tan. I need to get in better shape. Yeah, a whole bunch of shit I need to do. Really, my fucking browser's all messed up. I'd really get a tan from the natural sunlight, but Enter dungeon. I found out a way to set up a button on my bar that equips PvE gear and PvP gear. Switches between the two. Whatever, my water elemental just pulled all those guys, didn't it? Whatever. Let's pull them anyway. Get it over with. Shit. Okay, alright, alright, alright. Right, so if they have the ability to just copy and paste whatever the V2 thing is into where the V1 thing was, why didn't they do it? If they do, that's what, if there's more to it than just that. Obviously it always sounds like that kind of thing, right? And then there's always more to it than that. Unless it's based on each trade, right? So there's a possibility that it was a way to slowly drain liquidity from market makers and stuff. But the argument that I heard the other day was that the reason why the tokens aren't doing as good now is because the incentive isn't in the actual token itself, it's in the creator rewards, right? I mean it makes sense as to why, but I can't say if that's the reason why that I agree with it, but whatever. Yeah, I can't say that's a good thing, more than likely. If that is indeed how it works, but I have trivial knowledge of it and haven't spent much time trying to research it either, so I'm not trying to like make an accusation or anything. This is where, like, in a conversation, the other person would chime in with something that I don't know, and we would go, oh, yeah, okay, well, cool. Well, now that I know that, yeah, no, that makes a little more sense, right? So, but what that sounds like, though, is if that is true, and I'm not saying it is, but it's like, if that is how it is working, then it's like, oh, that's a good way to, like, shit on the token holders and just reward the token creator, I guess. Uh, Yeah, that would suck. I can see why people might be frustrated with that. These are all hypotheticals. Good God. Where's the tank? Been sitting here for a few hours now. I haven't seen one car drive by. Not that I guess you should, but it is Saturday, isn't it? Or it was Saturday. Now it's Sunday. But I would always opt for a system that incentivizes token creators and rewards token holders, not benefits just the token creator and shafts the token holders. If that is indeed what's going on, I would say a system designed to uplift everybody would be the thing that would probably be the best. Yeah, honestly, though, it's like one of those things, right? Like I didn't even of all the people, the shit with John. Like I just now this week had actually looked at a YouTube video that explained kind of his mysterious death and all that shit. I always heard it from other people. I never actually took the time just because it's kind of like a tough thing for me to revisit, unfortunately. And after all these years, and everything that happened, out of curiosity as to what the fucking actual story was, and I don't think it's the full story. Uh, to actually be curious enough, to try and see what the fuck actually happened. There's a lot of speculation, but like I said, he did go around town telling people, like, all but implying that he was going to try and fake his death, you know, uh, without saying those exact words, but kind of hinting around it. And he always told me, he's like, no matter what happens, never believe in the frail old man story or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I wouldn't say he was frail, but I say 8 months in a Spanish prison, he'd seen better days more than likely. And that would make anybody, that would make anybody's life shitty, wouldn't it? You'd say, right? But I think that was part of the stunt, whether or not it turned out to be a full stunt or not. I think he really did think he would get to that point no matter what it was, and someone would open a door for him. And I think that day came, and that person never showed up to open the door, more than likely. But he insisted that that wasn't the first time that he had that happen, and that it wouldn't, not to say it wouldn't be the last time, but if it ever did happen, right? He said there's always somebody there, you know, to open the door for him, let him out whenever, like right there at the moment of truth or whatever you want to call it. He never told me who it was though. He implied it was some like I don't really know, just some sort of person or group or something that did it for him anytime it happened, but I don't necessarily know how true it was. They weren't there that day, it doesn't seem, right? But he did explain though, one thing that was interesting, I don't know if it was true or not. Another thing was like, he said he did all that shit in Belize, and he's like, yeah, and the fucking Nicaraguan government and the Guatemalan government, he said the entire like Mexican military, I forget where it was, he said in between two of the countries, they had all the military trucks lined up, like there's like one corridor that the military, or that they use like a highway to get between like Guatemala or wherever, and if you look at it on the map, all the fucking whatever had to happen for him to get to the United States or whatever, he's like, yeah, and all the army trucks and all the shit were lined up because every camera in North America was pointed at the situation at the time, and he's like, he knew he was trying to get home soon or whatever, and he's like, it was the most nerve-wracking moment because like the one thing that we can't have happen is watch have this guy basically get whacked on television in front of everybody, and I guess he had no reason to make that part up, but he said he got flown from wherever once they got him out of Guatemala or wherever to some other Mexican country or South American country, right? Trivial knowledge of geography as well. Mexico or wherever. He's like, yeah, and the entire military was lined up on the corridor there between the two countries, like to keep it like blockaded and shit from anything crazy happening. And as soon as he got on the plane, he landed in Florida, I guess it was, and he said the State Department, Hillary Clinton's State Department of all people, were there waiting for him and handed him an envelope with I believe either $20,000 or $40,000 in it to get him on his feet. I'm like, really? Now after all of this shit about the Clintons and then the email servers and everything else and what a crook she is and how corrupt they are and all that, you mean to tell me that the person that essentially bailed John out of like a super tight spot at some point in time was fucking Hillary Clinton herself? I swear to God, her fucking State Department or whatever person it was. I'm pretty sure that's, and my timeline actually might be off on that, but he didn't say Hillary Clinton. He said the State Department, so I might have the wrong timeline. But either way, it was the State Department that did it. In my mind, the State Department's Hillary Clinton, so I might have a bit of a bias in the story there. Don't get my facts crossed. If the years don't add up, then I'm wrong. But he told me the State Department, not Hillary Clinton. But he's that type of guy, though, right? That was the consensus that I gathered. Was it didn't matter who it was. If the worst enemy, hand him $40,000. They were best friends that day. I guarantee it, right? What year was it? It would make sense if I knew for sure. Now I'm interested. I gotta see the facts. If I find out if it was Hillary Clinton's State Department, dude, right? Is nothing sacred? And it probably was, now I think about it. And then he told me that's how he met his wife and all that stuff. And like later that day, if I find out the year, dude. If I find out, I'm gonna look it up here in just a second. Now, I've been assuming it was Hillary Clinton because I'm not 100% clear on the timeline because he told it to me after the fact. And like all this shit about the fucking email servers and all the other stuff. Now, as strange as it sounds, I'll tell this story too. Like, we went to Hatteras under the, I forget what it was exactly, but the guise was that he was being followed by this group. And I swear I'm not just saying this, but like the Pizzagate people. He said he was being pursued or followed or chased by like these Pizzagate people, and he had to flee whatever for whatever reason to get to like get away from everything for just a while or whatever. So we all had to fucking pack up and go to Hatteras on like no moment's notice, it seemed like, which is North Carolina. And the entire time, dude, we're like having to sit there and my job, right, volunteered, I guess, to have something to do more or less, was like I had to run the names of every license plate and every person that either stopped by the house or whatever and all this stuff. And whether or not I believe any of the shit that he tells me, though, I mean, it's like, whatever. He's like, no, we need somebody that has to do this, basically. Like, we all volunteered for different tasks and shit while we were there. I'm like, whatever. He's like, yeah, and then he would get the license plates. I'd keep getting emails with license plates and shit and have to look them up and find the names of the people. And he'd look up the names, and he's like, yep, these are tied to the Pizzagate people. I'm like, of course they are. And why can't I find that information, right? No one else can verify it but him. Like, sure, it fits your narrative, of course, right? He called them the what do you call them? The pizzolatos is what he kept calling them. The pizzolatos of all things. I'm like, are you whatever. But he was convinced, I guess, whether or not he really was or not, but just that was how he kept kind of like the entire group, like, say, like, penned against each other or like focused on something that maybe wasn't really there, was trying to like sell a narrative to the group that way, to take away from the fact that I think he just wanted to go on a vacation or whatever. Whatever the real reason was, I still don't fucking know. But he had everybody, he was like going to different properties and stuff and trying to talk about how to purchase them from these people and all that shit. Was he had his head of security, Jimmy, at the time. He was like, and if they ask, he's a UFC fighter and he's got a big fight coming up and this, like, if any of these people ask what we're doing here, Jimmy's a cage fighter or whatever. Like, good God, dude. Like I told you though, the guy liked the LARP more than anything. He had a fucking full Village People's costume, a fucking wardrobe full of shit like that. But I'm trying to think of things that are like, say, less fucking daunting, a little more lighthearted than, you know, some of the shit that people might find interesting or whatever. Doesn't necessarily cross any lines either. But what was it though? But the entire time we were there, we were all convinced that we were being followed by this group of people that worked for Hillary Clinton and this, that, and the other thing. Now, if I find out, flee Guatemala. So, 2012. Secretary of State, stupid bitch. Yes, it was. So yeah, fucking 2009 to 2013, son of a bitch, right? Yeah, type of guy he was then, right? And then just years later, like she had to sign off on the fucking thing for him to get that stack of money from her, and he wants to sit there and fucking drag us all around the goddamn United States, running from the woman for whatever reason, whether or not she was really there sharpening her dagger or not, right? At the end of the day, I think John owes her like 40 grand is what it was what it balances out to. Fucking people, dude. Those are all facts I didn't put together until just now. Like, I'm like, wait a second, right? You mean to tell me all that kicking and screaming and shit that entire time, right? Fucking married to Hillary Clinton herself. Good God, dude. Her State Department, nonetheless. Like, I can guarantee you that required a signature or something from somebody to just fork over 40 grand to some guy that had just murdered his neighbor in a foreign country and all that other shit. The international fucking debacle that it was. Right, I'm sure it required her presence in some way, shape, or form. If not her direct signature, yeah, go figure. Where's my chapstick? I'm pretty sure he said the State Department. What other would be the person that handles that kind of thing? International affairs is like the State Department, right? Like what Marco Rubio does now, right? Pretty sure. What does Marco Rubio do? Department of State, right? So if there's like an international fiasco or debacle, yeah, that's what he told me. Shit. The fucking Obamas and the Clintons. His premier allies in the fucking thing. Go figure. That's kind of like how you know politics is a farce. You know what I mean? I think one of the best analogies I ever heard for it is it's the equivalent of like professional wrestling. You know, it does seem that way, really. Yep, 2009 to 2013. Sure as shit was. There's no gap in time there. 'Yeah, I was probably, I would say, the most inquisitive of the group, to say the least. I think the rest of the people were just kind of like, um, more or less, you know, there for the adventure. I was like, some of this shit, man, this doesn't make any sense, does it? 2017. Mom sent me some pictures earlier that I'm trying to think if I might shave my head again here soon. The way I looked when I was a little younger. a shaggy hippie in that one. I think it was 2017, 2016. Kind of ugly. Kind of an ugly guy. Right. And the first thing he did when I met him too, he tried to shake my hand. I went to shake his hand, and he fucking karate chopped me in the forehead. Like he'd watched that Men Who Stare at Goats movies or something about spiritual and psychological warfare or whatever. It was like something you seen out of one of those movies where he tried to blind my third eye. He tried to. He didn't actually. Well, no, he actually. Well, I don't remember for sure. He tried to for sure. He's like, oh, well, you're just tense because you just got out of prison or whatever. And normally this, whatever, he ended up trying to fucking make me punch myself in the head. Of all things. Strange, right? Strange. It's more water in our system. Oh, gulp, gulp, gulp. Yeah, just piece that one together. Really strange, isn't it? Yeah, but I was kind of convinced that he did escape prison or whatever, and didn't actually kill himself or anything. And then I saw it yesterday for the first time, which was like the video of him sitting in prison in Spain, right? I was like, oh wow, I guess he really did fucking get arrested at least. I thought it was all just a fucking all a farce. I thought it was all just some production, really. No, I guess he really did, which is what prompted me to speak on it today. Was I assumed it was all bullshit until just yesterday. only like say the only person, but that's the thing is I sit there. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't just sit there and waste people's time sitting here streaming and talking to myself. But when you scroll through TikTok and stuff, dude, it's loaded with people that you know what I mean. Like, just sit there wait and waste people's time. I guess whatever. 5. No, 6. I can see a 6. Oh shit. Oh shit. Where's my switch my gear? There we are. Protect the guys with the balls. It's a warlock. Pet. It's a pet. That's one thing. Have they done like an on-chain version of like Tamagotchis? That certainly has to be one of the first things they came up with, right? NFT Tamagotchis where you feed it fucking rare candies and stuff. Yeah, there's got to be something like that somewhere. Tamagotchis. Tamagoat cheese. All right, guy. The objective. This might be my last battle round after this. Or this might be my last one. I might log off because it is fucking 4 in the morning almost. I have to just wait patiently till the next Taylor Swift tour. Until then, pretty much have nothing to live for. smashed by these people. Ah, should have waited. God damn it. Pummel. Yes, we were being followed by the Pizzolatos, paid Hillary Clinton people. Ah. It's a fruitless effort. Why is my water elemental? What if, come on now, why can't you frost nova? Shit. PvP trying on my own snare. Fruitless. Fruit loops. Fruitless effort. It's a Fruit Loop effort. almost over, man. I guess, man, I don't really know. Like, see, this would be the point in time, right, for you to submit a question. Make this far more interesting. I kind of agree and kind of don't agree. I think at some point in time, if Bitcoin completely divorces the block halving and all that shit, that it will be more of a steady incline than a volatile kind of up and down thing, right? Either does or doesn't, though, right? Volatility. Yeah, well, let's see how long we've been on for. I probably just go ahead and call it now. Seems like we've been on for a while. Oh my god, dude, 8 people have accidentally clicked and watched the stream tonight. I thank you, 8 people. I wish I had more interesting things to say. Klaatu, Verada. It's my adopted dad. It's the opposite. Works the opposite. Instead of him adopting a kid, I adopted him as a dad. Bruce Campbell. He's a real dad's dad for sure. Yeah, no, because my actual biological father loved that fucking movie, dude. It's a super good movie too. Army of Darkness, right? I like the Evil Dead series, but Army of Darkness was a totally different thing. Every Sunday, from like ages fucking 3 to fucking 10, me and my dad used to sit there and watch that movie. It was either that, Terminator 2, The Abyss, Star Wars. We had like a dozen movies we sat and watched every fucking Sunday. But that was certainly his favorite was Army of Darkness. Still is his favorite too. He's still alive, thank God. Yeah. But yeah, he loved that movie. I say my sense of humor. I don't know where I get it from. I guess my parents, my brother more than anything, and my appreciation for cinema is from my brother and my parents. Yeah, my friends didn't necessarily have much of an influence on like the shit that I find entertaining. Really, they all had different like musical taste, and some of them had like more classic or kind of like one of my really good friends is obsessed with what's that guy's name? Like John Lennon and stuff, right? I never really got down on that kind of music like everybody else did. Uh, they like Smashing Pumpkins and the what's the other band? The Red Hot Chili Peppers. I just never really cared for music. None of my friends really had like the same appreciation for the same music, except for a few that really liked like Frank Zappa and Queen. My best friend ever is much of a fanatic about Queen and Frank Zappa as I am actually. But as far as movies and stuff, man, that's my best friend in the world. Basically, the reason why we got along so well and still do now, you know, is the movies that we liked, the music that we like. He was the only person that I could find uh, that would sit down and like on a weekend, instead of everybody going out and getting drunk and doing shit, and he was totally cool with me packing up my computer, bringing it to his house, right, and playing World of Warcraft together, like every weekend, pretty much for years. Everybody else gave me a hard time for it. He was the only person that didn't. Even to the point where like I'm pretty sure he got made fun of and was like, you know, I had all my hang-ups, right, social anxiety and low self-esteem and everything else, and he was the only person that was like not all complexed about you know, not having a fucking party every weekend and do this, that, and the other thing. Which to me was weird because it wasn't what kids did at the time, really. 2006 and 7 and all that. Uh, they weren't the type of people to where, oh, you fucking just play computer together, right? Something like that, you know, god damn it. But the reason I say that is basically because, really, fucking my influences for the type of music and movies and TV shows that I like were either my best friend or my mom, my dad, and my brother. Everybody else I've ever met had a different taste in music and movies than I did. What's that one? Bob Dylan was the one he really liked. One of my friends loved Bob Dylan for some reason. I could never get down on that kind of music. Wasn't a big fan of like the Grateful Dead or any of that kind of stuff. All right, well, I guess it's as good of a place to stop it as any.